At Children's Defense Fund, we've spent much of 2024, and especially this fall, encouraging people to get out to vote with children's interest in mind, and to make sure the well-being of young people impacts how they pull the lever in the ballot box. We've done this while the nation has made decisions about who would lead the country for the next 4 years and who would lead in Congress at least for the next 2. Since the election, like many of you, we've spent time discerning what would be our path forward and what are the implications of this election for our community, for our organization, and for our constituency. We've been helpfully reminded as we've reflected of a book that our CDF Freedom School scholars read this summer in 30 states across the country. Vote for Our Future by Margaret McNamara and Micah Player tells the story of Stanton Elementary School. When they find out that they don't have school the first Tuesday in November, but rather the school turns into a polling place. When they learn that they don't have the right to vote, they begin to get activated as students and tell their adults, tell people in their community, tell all their neighbors to get out to vote because, as the book says famously, kids have to live with adult choices. Recognizing that young people have to live with these choices. Over the last week, we spent time as a staff together across the country, leaned in with our board of directors, and gathered in an American Youth Policy Forum here in Washington, D.C. with some of our closest partners, hundreds of our closest partners. And we've become clear about a couple of things. Number one, our mission of building communities so young people grow up with dignity, hope, and joy is as relevant today as it was on November 4th. And we must fight for it as significantly and as stridently in the future as we have fought for it up to this point. Number two, we're clear that we still see it. It gets difficult sometimes to see the vision of a nation where marginalized children flourish, where leaders prioritize their well-being, and where communities wield the power to ensure that they thrive. But even though we can only get a glimpse on the way forward, we still see the vision. And so we'll lean into it with one another, and we'll do it with a couple of key watchwords in mind. A couple of things we know we need to do going forward include our soul work, not our homework, our soul work. There's much soul searching among partisans in this moment, and there's soul searching among progressives in this moment, and there's soul searching appropriately among those who call themselves moderates or conservatives. And as we search, we see our roots deeply grounded in the Black freedom struggle, in the anti-poverty movement, and in the women's movement. And that soul grounding will provide us with the deep footing for how we'll go forward. Soul work means we bring the spirit work to this, a soul force, if you will. Deepening our analysis through popular education and organizing with people on the ground. Nothing belongs on Children's Defense Fund's policy agenda that didn't start as a problem around the kitchen table for mamas, big mamas, and abuelitas trying to raise children the best way they could. And so our soul searching will lead to soul force, where we stir and conjure the faith for a different kind of future and lean in with our partners of faith, those who don't articulate faith, and those who just believe in a better world. It also means we've got to engage in more powerful partnerships. One of our board members gathered last week, and one we celebrated as an advocate for joy, suggested something that I'm going to keep saying: partnership is the new leadership. This means we'll need new and renewed partnerships for policy advocacy, for research, and for training in our community to make sure we're bringing the best arguments about children's future to bear. And finally, it means we've got to commit to vision casting beyond this moment. I know there are those who believe that there is one large figure who will dominate politics for the next few years. And I know there are those who cannot see the skyline beyond the White House, but we see a vision that is bigger than that building and that figure. A vision of community that is marked by peace and justice, where love is the governing ethic. A vision of a neighborhood where children walk safely to parks and play freely, even in their neighborhoods, with neighbors and guardians, public servants caring for them. And so because we believe in that vision, even in times that feel dark, we're going to cast that vision widely. You'll hear us over the course of the next year articulating visions of campaigns that will take longer than this administration. Moonshot campaigns to transform how we understand the well-being in our country. Yes, we will still fight for universal access to child care. You will hear us talking about things that feel as weird and crazy as lowering the voting age to get a wider and more demographic population to engage the franchise. You will hear us talking about redemption of the core mission of public education. You will hear us talking about a world where there are no juvenile detention centers, but rather communities that take care of all children and young people. You hear us talking about young people doing better than their parents. And that one won't sound crazy unless you pay attention to the statistics. That now it's harder, even if they get an education, deferred gratification, and work hard, to do better than mom and dad. We're crazy enough to believe that world is possible, no matter who's in the White House, no matter who's in Congress, no matter who leads in the Senate. And so, while the folks who get the gavel have the gavel, we will continue to work and cast a broad vision for our children. Because we still believe in the future that they believed in, is Stanton Elementary School. And because kids have to deal with, and kids are impacted by adult choices, we choose vision, we choose community, we choose partnership, we choose hope, and we choose to add soul force to our soul work so that we can build community where young people grow up with dignity, hope, and joy. Join us on the journey. Blessings, family.